going on, dude?
Are you Tim Pool?
Yeah, I am.
Wow, man, you're like that super cool journalist that does parkour and does skateboarding tricks too?
Yeah.
That's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, man.
I once did a whirly bird on my skateboard.
Wow.
Yeah. A double whirly bird.
That's very, very cool. Nope.
No, we're good.
All right, I'm doing an interview.
Well,
dude.
we're here with the
interview. Okay.
we're here with the Legion of Doom, the supervillains of VidCon.
You keep calling them Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Do an interview on the street.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, we can.
We run VidCon. Are you kidding me?
Run this shit.
I'm gonna talk with Maddox.
Yes.
Out of like the 40 people that are here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just stopped it. It was too crazy out there. We came inside. So I'm here with Maddox.
Yes, sir.
It's just Maddox. It's nothing else, is
That's
there?
right. That's it. Maddox. One
Yeah.
name like Jesus. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I interviewed you before.
Yeah.
We hung out.
Right.
We were just at a panel with the president of Now This News. There was Cenk from the Young Turks, Francesca. I can't remember her last name. She's
Can't remember either.
MTV Decoded. There was
Right.
Cat Black.
Right.
And then another woman who I didn't know.
Sarah. Her name was Sarah,
Sarah?
something or other. Yeah.
And you know, it was the Resist panel.
Right.
And they were talking about like protesting. I just want to say right off the bat, the one thing that was alarming to me was the guy from Now This News saying that they inject activism into their news reporting, and that they have like a political objective essentially.
Right.
That they're partnering with activists, and that is hugely alarming to me. But I'll talk about that later because I've got another video. I filmed one of the clips, and I'll put something together for that. But you were talking to me about something interesting and probably controversial about what they said.
Well, so someone asked a question of Francesca, and it was essentially how you can best help minorities and people with marginalized voices. And I thought, you know, she proceeded to answer that question, and she said that you should just ask them what they want or ask them what they need. And I thought, well, you've made an assumption there. You've just completely skipped over the question of how to help these people and ignored the question of why. Why should you ask them? Why should you ask them what they need? First of all, it's condescending, I think. If you go up to somebody who's, quote, marginalized, first of all, you're making an assumption about them just because of their skin color, right? That's counter to Martin Luther King's belief that we should judge someone not on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. So you're seeing somebody and you're saying, okay, well, they're a marginalized person. And in an effort to be sensitive to their plight, right? To be sensitive to their struggle and their marginalization in society, or perceived marginalization, you are making an assumption about them. You are judging them just like someone who is racist would. The only difference is you don't have bad intentions, all right? That's fair. But by asking them what they need, that person you're making another assumption, that person is going to give you a rational or reasonable response. What if that person says, you know what I need right now? I need a room dedicated just for black people, or I need a room dedicated just for white people, or women.
We've seen that.
Right.
When I was in Ferguson, they had rooms that were segregated. You know, during Occupy Wall Street, they had group meetings, caucuses that were segregated.
Well, so what that's going to lead to, and you're already starting to see it happen, is a white identity. And so whites are going to become the next marginalized group, and that group is going to start making their own requests. And they're saying, well, if they can, why can't we? And you're already seeing, yeah.
Well, that's exactly what's happening.
Right.
Like, that's the argument of Richard Spencer and many people on the alt-right.
Sure.
That, you know, why can't white people be proud? Why can't white people have spaces?
Right.
And then it gets to the extreme where you have this small group of people now saying they want a white ethno-state.
Right.
That's where it gets, you know, it starts getting crazy.
Yeah, I just talked about this with Sargon of Akkad, and he's you know, credit to him for putting this on my awareness, but that's where this is going. We are going to have white identity. We're going to have people who are going to make unreasonable requests, and I do think it's unreasonable to request a space that is segregated.
They're doing it.
Of course they're doing it. Right.
I asked one of my friends this, if she thought it was reasonable, and she had a very American response that a private group can do what they want in this country.
Sure.
If you want to hold a meeting that's for, you know, one specific kind of people, you have the right to do that so long as it's not publicly funded. And that was interesting because she identified as a feminist, and I'm like, wow.
Well, I mean, listen, I have a crew that meets every Tuesday for fried chicken, and we call it the Fried Chicken Tuesday crew. And it is only the only people welcome in that group are people who want fried chicken on that Tuesday. I think I should have the right to do that. But where this can potentially lead is segregation and discrimination, which is a huge problem. The other controversial thing, I asked the panel this question. They didn't choose this one, but it was about another assumption being made, which is that everyone should have a voice. And I asked them, why do you think everyone should have a voice or an equal voice? Now, right at the outset, when you ask that question, should everyone have a voice? The obvious answer is yes, right?
That's what most people would say.
Most people would say that. But then I wanted to turn the tables a little bit on them and just add a little addendum, even people who are fascists.
That's a good point, I guess.
Do you want fascist people to have a voice? And if you do you want their voice to be equal to everyone else's? I think what's happened in the social media realm, right, on Facebook, you see someone's newsfeed and their comments are just posted one after another, right? And they're interspersed with comments from journalists who are writing news articles, legitimate news articles, fake journalists who are writing bullshit, and advertisers. So and you're seeing them all in the same newsfeed, all presented to you equally, which is dangerous, which is a problem. Because what you've suddenly done is you've taken shitty, marginalized voices that should be marginalized, voices who are not uneducated or bigoted or just not informed or rote or
intentionally misleading.
Or intentionally misleading, and you have elevated them to the status of journalists. And I think that's why we have such a problem with fake news today. It's because you're seeing your uncle or your cousin or your mechanic commenting in a newsfeed, and their opinions are being shown right next to real, legitimate journalism. And so for all intents and purposes, they have just as much weight as journalists do.
Well, one thing interesting that, I can't remember who said this, I think it might have been Anna Kasparian. She said that it's her job to watch the news, to figure out what's going on, and then make, comment on it, analyze it, share that information. And she was saying how she gets frustrated talking to her friends about why she didn't like Hillary Clinton, and they refused to listen to her. She was like, if a doctor told them you need surgery, they'd say okay. If a mechanic said your car's broken, fix it, they'd say okay. She's like, but when I talk to them, they're like, I don't believe you, right?
Right.
And so it's interesting.
It is interesting. I've had that problem myself. I feel like I have a problem with friends who have known me for a long time. They become cynical of you and your motives, and I think they start to project and assume that if you, it's kind of like arguing with your wife or your partner, right? If you argue with your wife or your partner and have any kind of like political debate, if you disagree with them, they might think that disagreement has something to do with something personal that you guys had. So it's kind of, that might play into why they didn't take it seriously.
Here's what I used to ask my friends, and I would ask them this more as like a philosophical, rhetorical question, essentially. But what I would say is, do you think everyone should stand up for what they believe in? Do you?
Should you stand up for what you know? Not always. Definitely not.
So when I was growing up in my school, there was a big banner. I remember seeing it when I was in like 6th grade. It said, stand up for what you believe in. And I remember thinking about that. And I remember thinking about some people are assholes.
Right.
And so then I would go to my friends and I would say, do you think people should stand up for what they believe in? And they would go, yes. And I said, does that include the Westboro Baptist Church? And they would go, no.
Does it include white nationalism?
Yeah.
I actually just wrote a chapter, this sounds like a plug, it's not, I swear, but I just wrote a chapter about this in my book called Fuck Following Your Dreams. And I said, the message, follow your dreams sounds like such a great slogan. Like, yeah, man, you have a dream, go for it. But what if your dream is to be a totalitarian state? What if your dream is to enslave people?
To be a white nationalist.
To be a white nationalist. What if your dream is shitty? What if you're a shitty person? What if your dream is to be a drug lord or the #1 thief or a murderer? There are tons of terrible dreams.
I can appreciate that you named a chapter "Fuck Following Your Dreams," and it's like it's actually an important philosophical question about the nature of like what is good and
what is good and bad. Yeah. I've been thinking about that a lot, and there is a lot of bullshit, folksy wisdom that we glom onto in society. Blindly so, without questioning whether or not it's right. And one of them, I haven't even written about this yet, but it's the golden rule. I have a huge problem with the golden rule. The golden rule is essentially treat others how you want to be treated, right? Oh, great, awesome. That means everyone treats each other well and right? No, not necessarily, because the golden rule, the implication is treat others how you want to be treated always. So if somebody wrongs you, how would you want to be treated if you were the person who wronged someone? Would you want to be forgiven?
Yes.
Right. So people who wrong you could then say, well, you know, I believe in the golden rule, so forgive me, and there should be no punishment. I just killed your cousin, sorry, forgive me, golden rule.
But the idea is that you should forgive other people. If you want to be forgiven, you should forgive other people, right?
Right. Yeah, you should. Everybody should forgive everyone. Like, the golden rule doesn't address what to do in cases where there is criminal neglect, intentional or unintentional. How do you treat that with golden rule? And the golden rule says, okay, everybody should treat everyone how you want to be treated, fine, but what if not? What if somebody doesn't believe that golden rule?
So I think this makes sense in a much harsher context of, like, let's say you're a serial killer,
right?
And they catch you. You would like the people to treat you as though they would let you go. So that's kind of implying that if you caught a serial killer, you should let him go.
Exactly. That's the problem with the golden rule. Exactly. That's the problem with the golden rule. Thank you for summarizing it. And the other problem with the golden rule is that here's another bit of philosophy that people subscribe to. Everybody should have whatever beliefs they want. So if you believe in the golden rule, you believe that everybody should have the beliefs that they want, including the belief to not believe in the golden rule.
This is like one of the big problems we see with very far progressive activists, where they want to be inclusive of everybody, but that includes groups that are at odds with each other.
Sure.
So we see infighting between radical feminism and liberal feminism. You know, when they want to include everyone in their group, sometimes cultures clash. It doesn't work.
Well, I think that's why you have such a problem with the label of feminism today. Now, I wanted to draw a distinction between the label of feminism and the goal of feminism, you know, as it was in the first wave, which is equality, which I think everyone stands for. Everybody stands for. Most people.
Yeah, most people.
Most people. But the problem is this label comes with so much baggage today, and it's hard to say. Again, I love Martin Luther King's quote of judging somebody based on the content of their character, not the color of their skin, and I will extend that to their genitals, their sexual identification, their nationality, their ethnicity. Judge them based on the content of their character. Now, feminism is saying women. What can you say about women? Not much, other than physiological facts about them. Beyond that, you can't make very many assumptions about women, because you need to treat women as individuals. You need to treat them as people who have their opinions, and they might not all agree with each other just because they share the same genitals.
So this is ultimately, wrapping this back, a big problem with the resist panel. You know, at vidcon we see the progressive activists who, I'll say this, 'cause I said this in my last video, you know, we're all for social justice. Right. I talk to a lot of people, but there's a few people who are very authoritative, who are very ignorant or mean, and they try to take it over. They get power in the movement. It makes it all look bad. But going to this panel, they say things that are very generic that sound good. That it's like, yes, everyone should have a voice, and they want to say that because it makes them feel good, it makes everyone feel good, but does it really solve the problems and make life better? I'm not saying it does or it doesn't, but I guess that's the question.
I will say that they're reducing very important ideas to slogans.
Yeah.
And you can't solve the world, you can't say much that's important on a bumper sticker. That's what everything is being reduced to, and I know that may sound a little hypocritical because I've quoted that Martin Luther King quote several times.
I was gonna say,
I'm not trying to generalize, but
there's nuance.
There's nuance, and you really have to ask the question why. You're making a lot of assumptions when you say we should ask minorities what they need. You're assuming that they are going to give you a reasonable answer, and you're also assuming that they need something,
or that they know what they need.
Or right? That they know what they need. That's a very important question.
Hell, I don't know what I need half the time.
Right. And you know, I remember I took this class in college, and again, at the outset, the teacher said that everybody assumes that the right to vote is important to have. But how important is it if you're not educated? If you don't even understand what you're voting for?
You know Mike Rowe?
No, I don't know Mike.
He's the guy who does Dirty Jobs. He's like a voice actor.
Okay.
And he wrote this really great thing, and he said, the right to vote does not mean you should vote. All these celebrities are coming out saying, you have to vote, it's your right, exercise it. And he goes, it's your right to own a gun, and we certainly don't want everyone to go out and buy guns and exercise that right either.
Right.
So it's important that you treat voting like owning a gun. You have to respect the vote. It's powerful. You have to, study and understand it and be ready for it. But we, like you said, it's kind of reduced to a slogan. Everyone says, "Go vote, just go do it." You know what I see? Like the woman on this panel, the moderator, she has a political action committee about voting. She told everyone to register to vote in the audience. Well, go figure. She's fighting for progressive causes, so she's trying to get all of the progressives to register. Because it benefits her cause.
Right. Yeah, I kind of see that on both sides. Both sides want their sides to go out and vote.
Yeah, South Park did an episode about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that episode, but it does seem a little bit disingenuous, and it completely sidesteps the big question of whether or not people should vote.
It's wrapping it back to, do people actually know what they need? And if they don't, do they really know who to vote for?
Well, just to play devil's advocate, I agree with that. A lot of people don't know what they need. But then, who's to say what they do need?
Honestly, I fall on the libertarian side of, I don't know, and I'm not going to tell someone what they should or shouldn't do. I'll try to educate them as best I can and help them at least do the best they can to make the right decision.
I'll tell them what they need, Tim. I'll do it.
Yeah, all right.
I'll step in that role. President and dictator.
The regressive party.
Hey guys, I want to be a dictator. I'm just trying to follow my dreams.
At least you're being on, yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for talking. We're gonna get back to the party.
Yeah.
So if you enjoyed the video, comment below and let me know what you think. This is Maddox. Do you have any your YouTube channel, Twitter, or whatever?
Yeah, YouTube is Maddox Rules. No, Twitter. Twitter is Maddox Rules. Fuck me. The YouTube channel is the best show in the universe, and then the podcast is Tim. You've been on multiple times. It's the best debate in the universe. We do a lot of really good debates, and would love to have you on again. Check it out. Yeah, thank you very much.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
So click the like button, help the channel. Subscribe. New videos every day at 4 p.m. I'm gonna go back up to the party because everyone's here.
Yeah.
I'll see you all tomorrow.
Yeah.
Journalism at its finest.